Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I want to go in on Trump and Trumpers in a bit. I want to show you why first, and then explain my point of view, which is probably something you haven't heard before, at least not from me. It's not just about Trump; it's about everything. like about everything about the apocalypse. First, he comes out here with a dope Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is here. She would say, hello, Marjorie.
Hello, Marjorie. Hello, Marjorie. Marjorie.
Warrior. Oh, there she is. Oh, look at her. How beautiful.
She's a warrior.
Oh, thank you, brother. You want to say something? I would love to. Come on, say something, Marjorie.
I want to let you all know, and this is something that you know, this is something that I know. President Trump is beating Joe Biden poll after poll after poll.
Poll after poll after poll. Like there's like it's a totem pole. Let's go back to that image there. It's a totem pole of dopes here.
He's up 7 points today. And if he were to run against Kamala Harris, he's up 11 points, which is funny. All right, Georgia,
It's funny, 11.
Get the job done in 24. Let's get President Trump across the line. Let's get him back in the White House for 4 more years.
4 more years. There'll be 4 years of his presidency if he wins again. 4 more. A hug.
Thank you.
4 more years. 4 more years. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get into why that sucks. But first, let's go to his. I haven't seen any of these videos, but I have a couple comments to read from Trumpers, and I want to talk about why he and her are a cancer on the truth community and have been for, a couple of years now. Okay, so this is an hour and 23-minute speech. Okay, so Fishboy brags about how great a job he did and what he's going to do in the future. And then he gets into Hillary a little bit, and then he gets into the indictment.
He said that it was Russian disinformation. Everybody knew that wasn't true. They knew it wasn't true. That's become a big scandal. That was another form of cheating on the election. A lot of the great pollsters, we have a couple of them here tonight, they said that you look at what they said about it. 17-point difference. It's incredible. But the 51 intelligence agents lied. Now the Marxist left is once again using the same corrupt DOJ and the same corrupt FBI and the Attorney General and the local district attorneys to interfere in our elections at a level that our country and few countries have ever seen before.
So, what are you going to do differently this time? Because your audience isn't going to do boop, right? The people he's talking to. If there's that level of corruption, and it's coming from the intelligence community, the social media companies, the mainstream media companies, Fox News, they're the ones who called it for Biden and bailed on you. Like, what are you going to do differently this time? What's different about this time? What's the apparatus? This isn't the main thing I want to talk about, but if they are persecuting you, like he says, right? He's a victim of their corruption, and he's squeaky clean and a great guy, and he's never broken the law. And he's never done anything wrong. What is your apparatus for stopping this from happening?
They're cheating, they're crooked, they're corrupt. These criminals cannot be rewarded. They must be defeated. You have to defeat them.
And how are you going to defeat them?
Have to defeat them.
Woo! Defeat them. Defeat the criminals. Woo!
Because in the end, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. Here I am. I'm standing in their way, and I always will be.
He's just a waystander. He's just setting picks. He's just out there setting picks against the people coming after you. And he's stopping them, because he's Trump and he's done such a good job of that. He stopped all those supporters from being thrown into jail after the big event in January, and he's stopped all the people from being banned and harassed on social media, so much so that he went and formed his own goofy Twitter knockoff, right? All these things. Like, he hasn't stopped anything. He's not in their way at all. Like, he's helping them. He's the catalyst for them doing what they're doing. And that's the main part of what I want to talk about in a bit. I just want to get through this. But he's a catalyst. It's on him, right? He's the reason. He is the problem that they are using to push their depraved agenda. Woo! Woo! Thanks for protecting us, Trump. Woo! Fish boy, woo!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The ridiculous and baseless indictment of me by the Biden administration's weaponized Department of Injustice will go down as among the most horrific abuses of power in the history of our country. Many people have said that. Democrats have even said it.
Yeah, I know it won't. I mean, come on. Everything with Trump is huge. Like, he's the greatest, this is the biggest, this is the worst. This is like the worst thing that's ever happened. And it's not. Like, it just isn't. I mean, Trump is a corrupt businessman and, an immoral, depraved person. And he's just part of the club of, demons that are in power in the system. Either the money power, the political power, the media power.
This vicious persecution is a travesty of justice. You're watching Joe Biden. Joe, think of it. Biden is trying to jail his leading political opponent, an opponent that's beating him by a lot in the polls.
Okay, so Joe Biden is a senile joke. And most Trumpers, Trumpers that come here, they love to mock Joe Biden for being senile, for being sucky, for being corrupt, for being clueless, falling down on the job, these things, right? It's the same thing I said about Trump. They made fun of Trump for being such a dope. They made Trump for being a kind of a moron, an idiot. But then also he's a criminal mastermind. And same thing for Biden. He can't be both senile and a criminal mastermind. If you're talking about his handlers, that's one thing. But that's if they're actually trying to put you in jail, which they're not. Like, if they put him in jail, they put him in jail. It's not like there's going to be justice. We didn't see it during the post-election. We didn't see it during COVID. We didn't see it for Kyrie Irving. We didn't see it for all these people, right? Justice hasn't existed for a very long time, right? But he'll say it here.
Just like they do in Stalinist Russia or communist China, no different. Our country's gone very bad, and think of it, in 3 years. 3 years ago, we were energy independent. We had no inflation. We had low taxes. We had low interest rates. We had the greatest economy in history.
So it was a false economy, which I said back then, because Trump deregulated everything again. So there's an economic boom of derivatives and, banker scams and things. But it's a short-lived boom. And let's say it was real. The thing that killed it, and it's not real, but the thing that killed it is when Trump shut down the economy because he got worked on COVID. They pushed him into shutting down the economy, his great economy, and pushing all the agenda, including Operation Warp Speed, where either he was completely in on it or he got worked like a pigeon, a stooge. He just got worked by them. So either it's a dope that got worked or he got, handled, or he got, he's just into it, whatever it was. That's what killed his economy, his very own actions, the way that he handled COVID. He could have called out BS from the beginning on COVID. He could have, not pushed the Operation Warp Speed, which would have changed everything. They wouldn't have been able to push that thing on everybody if it wasn't for Trump, because Trump got the thing going in record time. Like he's there. Let me just, let me play all the memes here of him saying that stuff.
Very long. We've instituted it before. 2 additional companies, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. As you know, the Johnson & Johnson's a one-dose, one-shot vaccine, so we're going to see how that works. That would be very helpful if that all came out, and I think it probably will. Also, they're showing tremendous promise, all of them, tremendous promise. We're very hopeful that the FDA will authorize the Pfizer vaccine within days. We've got to get it moving. And Moderna vaccine almost immediately thereafter. Large numbers of tests and samples have been done, so hopefully that'll go very quickly. If authorized, tens of millions of vaccine doses will be available this month, and we'll get it distributed very quickly. We'll have that all set, and hundreds of millions more will quickly follow. Every American who wants the vaccine will be able to get the vaccine, and we think by spring we're going to be in a position that nobody would have believed possible just a few months ago. You know, amazing, really amazing. They say it's somewhat of a miracle, and I think that's true. The plan we put forward prioritizes the elderly and patients with underlying conditions, as well as healthcare workers and first responders.
The greatest achievements was getting the vaccine done in 9 months instead of 5.5 to 12 years. But the problem is, you know, we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, but I can't talk about it because our base, our beautiful base, of which some of you are there, you get angry when we mention the word vaccine. Don't get angry.
You did everything you could to get this vaccine out. I know where you
It was one
stand
of
on
the
the
greatest
vaccine.
achievements. We did it in less than 9 months.
To be able to do that.
Yeah,
But now it's taken a twist, right?
And then people don't want it, and it probably even affects the others, because, you know, there's a big situation with a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine. Well, this played right into their hands, and they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. You know, to get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years. He thought it was something that just wouldn't be that effective because it would take so long to get. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before. I wouldn't exactly say they're in love with me. They have never. This is a very bureaucratic organization. I pushed them like they've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people. Can you imagine if you had to go through what all of the countries of the world who are now getting the vaccine or soon will be getting it from various companies, but can you imagine if all of those countries had to go through what they've been going through over the last year? You'd lose hundreds of millions of people.
Let the teachers get the vaccine. They should get the vaccine. I hope they do. Again, it's something I'm very proud of. I think if we didn't come up during the Trump administration with a vaccine, you could have 100.
The best one, I'll play you it again. I got a better version. I found it on Fox, where Trump said he was the father of the vaccine, and it was a miracle. Right? He is claiming divinity. The vaccine was divine, and his, you know, whatever. This should put a stake in the coffin of this MNFer's candidacy. I mean, this is, you know, even for the most hardcore Trumpers, you got to see this guy he got played. He played himself. He played you. I mean, just a, you know, absolute POS. Let's play that clip again.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. You know, to get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle.
You know, and then he got worked, right? He got worked on it. And then he got worked on the election and the post-election. And he got set up and he walked into a trap of his own doing. And he hasn't got out of that trap, right? But they might let him out of the trap because let's listen to this part here.
Think of it. I could stand up here all day long and just talk about all of the great success we had. And now,
Of course you could.
we have everything's the opposite. Inflation's killing our country. Energy is ridiculous and ridiculously high. We're getting energy from Venezuela. Nobody can even believe it. I never thought such a thing could happen to America. As far as the joke of an indictment, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing for this country. I mean, the only good thing about it is it's driven my poll numbers way up. Can you believe this? Way up.
Of course it does. Let me stop here and get into the thing. Okay, so I did a long voiceover, and I had a video at the end where John Bolton, who was once a beloved a member of Trump's administration, who eventually ended up turning on Trump, Trump turning on him, which always happens. And I want to talk about not words, but actions and effects. So you have words where people verbalize words, verbalize intentions, verbalize their inner world, verbalize their goals, verbalize the kind of person they are, the kind of beliefs they have. And then there's actions, which are more of a reflection of truth. Because words are, full of lies. And if you're, a skilled liar and deceiver, you can create, deception where your words say one thing, but your actions say the exact opposite. And then there's the results, the effects that a person has on a company, effects a person has on an organization, it affects a person has on other people in their lives, right? And those are the two things that I want to talk about here with Trump, not his words, because you like his words. People are into the words, right? People are, that's what they love about Trump is his words, the Trumpers. But his actions, if you are going to be honest, and you're a Trumper, and you're not going to be because, if you're a Trumper, you've already gone through so many layers of denial. I got this long voiceover coming, but this is a pre-introduction to that. But if you really look at Trump's actions as president and the effects that he's had on the country, look at where we are now. Look at where we are now as a country. And you could say, well, Trump, got cheated out of the election. If he was president, that wouldn't have happened. But what happened, right? The Trump presidency led to the Biden presidency. And whatever reasons that happened, whatever, was the whatever the behind the scenes stuff, whatever the power struggles, whatever the corruption, whatever made this thing shake out the way it did, that's what's happened. Trump was a president, now Biden's a president. And all the things that have gone wrong with COVID, with the economy, with inflation, all across the board, those were all things that Trump did. Things have gotten worse. Trump didn't make America great again. He made America worse. Again, look at the results. What are the results of Trump? Well, people are at each other's throats. And again, this isn't all on Trump, but this is what's happened since Trump was president and he became a politician. There's much more division in our country. And you say, well, that's not like Trump, he's a uniter. How is Trump a uniter, right? Think about all the relationships Trump has had. And I'm going to talk about this again at the end of the video. But look at his fixer, Michael Cohen, whose life was ruined. He's a scumbag, whatever. And he went to jail and then turned on Trump. And Trump turned on him. When, he did all this work for Trump, did all this illegal work, he was a fixer, right? John Bolton, which I've already talked about, Steve Bannon, and then now Kayleigh McEnany. I mean, all these people, and I list a lot more, who once were beloved members of Trump's administration that Trump eventually turns on. Who hasn't he turned on? And some of these people went to jail, lost their jobs. I mean, some of the effects Trump has had on them in his relationship with them. Businesses that he's had that has gone bankrupt, people that he's ruined that came in contact with him, the many lawsuits that Trump has had. I mean, so many people who have had Trump in their life have had horrible effects afterwards. Like he's one of those people that poisons and contaminates and hurts the people around him. Like the father in the Succession TV show, right? That guy who wrecked his children, wrecked his family, hurt the country. Trump is a divisive, angry, hostile, hateful, low person, and he affects people that way. Same way Hillary does, right? They have bad energy. They contaminate the world around them. It would have been the same with Hillary, just different, but it would have been the same effects. Joe Biden another person, right? You can't claim that Joe Biden is a good guy based in all the things that have happened while he's been president and things getting worse, right? And it isn't like it's all his fault, but he certainly didn't make things better. And so if you evaluate Trump's actions and the effects of having him in your life in the world around you, it's a negative. He's a negative person. Again, this is on a spiritual level, this is all supposed to happen. The collapse of our system, the collapse of our corrupt and debauched system. And so, some of these things are positive, but then, Trump and Biden are in some ways doing God's work. Again, I'm not getting into that level of analysis here, but that's always there. That's going, in a deeper fashion, which I get into the Jungian, right? Deeper levels of truth. But in terms of what we see as America and how America is right now, it's not better. Trump didn't make it better. Biden didn't make it better. It's gotten worse. That's their effect, both of them. The Trump presidency led to a Biden presidency, which may lead to a second Trump presidency, and it's just going to keep on getting worse. The division, the lifestyle, all of it is just going to go in that direction. Trump hasn't been able to have a positive influence on really anything, even as an apprentice, even as, these people that apprentice with him, right? All these, he's a contaminator. He's a black hole. So if you forget about his words, but look at how he affects stuff, like he walks into a room and the flowers die. It's like he's a bad luck Shreplock. He's one of those people. He's been bankrupt twice, and he's ruined all kinds of things. He's, ruined people's lives. He's ruined businesses. He's, done all kinds of damage. And, he's not an uplifter. He's not a person that makes things better. And you've had people like this in your life. You've had people who, when they come into your life, they make everything better. They just brighten the world around them. And I'm not claiming to be one of them, right? Far from it. But I know people like that, right? And certainly doing the Sajmarg meditation, the masters of the system, I've had people like that. My wife is a person like that. And so, there are people out there who they're just positive. They have positive energy. You see this with players, basketball players who are, Trump's a cancer on the truth community. He's a cancer on humanity, just like Joe Biden is, just like so many, Alec Baldwin, all these people, right? But there's, players who go to a team and the team gets better. Great players, right? But there's great players who are selfish, narcissistic, and all about themselves, all about their own, getting their own. And when they go to a team, they're a cancer. They hurt the team falls apart, right? They don't improve the people around them. They don't improve the environment. They create division and gossip and, negativity, and everyone gets a bad attitude. I had a boss, a manager at one of the restaurants I worked at when I waited tables, and he said, you just need one negative server, one negative waiter or waitress, and then I have to fire the whole staff. Because once you get a negative person pointing out how bad the job sucks or whatever it is, right, it infects the whole staff. And I've seen it, you've seen it in your life. We all know this. There's people who, if they were president, it would just be a positive effect. It would still be, there'd be lots of problems and all the things that are there. And, we're in such a downward spiral. But Trump is not a positive person. The effects of him as a human being, the energy he exudes, the consciousness he has. So, yeah, you might agree with, he might, pander to you and tell you things you want to hear, but he's a cancer. He's one of these people that's just a cancer. And because he's embraced the truth community to some extent, not really, but in, the QBs and, people that are going to help him and benefit him. I mean, he embraced Alex Jones for a while, then turned on the truth community when he became president, all the things that he promised and didn't deliver. Him saying he was going to lock Hillary up and then saying, no, that played well during the election, but now we don't care. Now that I've won, right? Because everything was about him winning, not about him doing what he promised you he would do if you voted for him. He was a typical liar and flim-flam man. And the one thing I liked about Trump is at least he wasn't hiding a lot of this stuff. He wasn't acting like a politician. But now I see that he's just such a cancer. And he's just, he contaminates everything that he's around. And the world is a worse place with him as a political figure. It's a worse place. And you can see it. Whether you want to see it, that's up to you. But he's not a person that creates something good. He is, I don't want to even say destructive, because destruction is a natural element of life. But he's a cancer, like a malignant force, a demonic force out there. And everything that when he's the center of America, which he is now, in terms of political discussion, in terms of so much of the battle that's taking place in America, Trump is the center of the storm, right? And you can see his effects, and he's like a contagious tumor, right? And so let's get into it here, because, this is just a pre-introduction. But let's go to the other stuff here. So if I lied to you, if I was a fake Trumper, if I pretended I was a Trumper, a Republican, or a right-wing sort of leaning person, I would do a lot better. You guys can all see that, right? You have the ability to see that. If I pretended to be a Christian, for example, or pretended to be this group, a flat earther, or a QB, or, a Trumper, or, any number of these things, right-wing person, if I told you there was hope for the system, that the system could be saved and Trump could make America better again, any of the number of these positions would increase my subscriber count and viewer count and support, financial support, and all these other things, right? I say things all the time, not just about Trump, but in general, that piss people off, and they either comment and leave, I'm unsubscribing, right? Or they just leave, right? I say things that challenge people, eventually everybody that comes here. I say something that they don't agree with, and it causes them some emotional distress. Some people work their way through it. They're mature enough to see that maybe I'm right, or maybe, whatever, we just disagree. But the majority of people leave. I've had millions upon millions of viewers here, like hundreds of millions of views. I've deleted videos and lost those views, but I think it's like at 110 million views or something like that collectively over the years. And so there's been at least several million people that have come in contact with my channel. And out of those people, I have about 5,000 to 10,000 loyal viewers, right? And my content doesn't suck. Like, it's not like my content sucks. I say funny things. There's humor in it. There's insight. I mean, there's lots of people who love my channel when I agree with them. But when I don't, they turn on me and they leave, right? And so, it's not in my best interest as a YouTuber to tell you that Trump is a piece of poop, right? It just isn't. Like, it would be better for me when the videos that I'm hammering Biden or making fun of Biden or the left do a lot better than when I say things about Trump and the right wing, because there's a right wing element of the truth community. And there's a comment I received last night. I'm going to read both comments. I covered one yesterday. And the person says, "You are wrong, Paul. I know the vast majority of politicians are bad, but there is one group that is a lot worse. If you can't see that, your health must be worse than you are letting us know." Now, that's a remedial position. It's an embarrassingly naive and, just willfully in denial position. And I'll get into that all. I've talked about some of it before, but I talk about it a different way. But there is no difference. Like, there's no, he's not as corrupt or he's not as bad in the world that we live in now. There's none of that, right? Especially in the political world. And when you say things like that, you're showing that, like, let's say the truth is an onion. you haven't even peeled the skin yet. Like, let's say being a truther is an onion, layers of onions, right? And that's not the best. Onions just have layers, but it's not like when you get to the center of an onion, it's beautiful in heaven, right? But, it's a good example of something that has layers. And it's, concentric circles. And if the center is the truth, you're at the skin level of the onion, right? If the center of the onion is the truth, then you're not even penetrating the first layer, that, brown papery skin that's on the outside. Like, you can't call yourself a truther. And to be a truther, to be somebody who's seeking the truth, you have to be evolving. You have to be more and more clear on the truth as things evolve. There's so many people in the truth community, they're saying the exact same stupid stuff they said, dummy stuff 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 5 years ago. You have to be evolving. You have to be seeing things clearer. As you get older, you have to become wiser. You have to be able to somehow show some movement and some growth as a perceiver of reality. That's what this is. And if you're, backing Trump after all the stuff that he did, the way he went out in his election, he exposed himself. And, and not only as a flim-flam man and a scammer, not only did he turn on you and do bad things to you, but also he showed that he was powerless. I mean, there's that one great tweet. Let me find the tweet here. So this is post the election. And Trump said this: if somebody cheated in the election, which the Democrats did, why wouldn't the election be immediately overturned? ? How can a country be run like this? This is December 9th, 2020, when Trump is still president. And so, it showed you how powerless he was. He's admitting to that the country's being run by other people and not him. The idea is that the president is running the country, but he's admitting right there that the country isn't being run by him or anybody that he understands. Why is this happening to me? Why is this so unfair? And most of us experience this because we're not billionaires and things don't go our way because we can't buy the system. But even rich people experience this kind of feeling. The richest person in the world experiences this. When they get cancer, they lose a loved one, or, they can't control something they thought they could control. Because life isn't meant to be controlled. And there are governing forces far beyond what I call the controller. There's divine forces at play here at, human level, at the governmental level, at the, universal level, that things play out that we can't control. And sometimes they seem completely unfair. And so sometimes it's the government that looks like they're screwing you. Sometimes it's something more, right? Sometimes it's, corruption on some human level, but there are divine forces on a deeper level. And this dope who left this comment is not even, scratching the surface of this, is at the skin level of the, of the whole thing. There's another comment here, and I'm going to get back to these things more in a bit. I just want to make this initial point. Paul, you like to see someone go to jail. This is about Trump. Just because you find it interesting? Nothing spiritual to see here, folks. Pathetic. I covered this in my other channel yesterday. I dissected that person and their motivation. But it's people dwelling on the surface. If you're still a Trumper, you're on the surface level. You're not on our level, those of us who see it. You're not even close to it. Not that we're better than you, but we're better than you. In terms of our perception of reality, we're closer to the truth than you are by many magnitudes, because you're lost in binary world. You haven't even taken the first step because you were a Republican before. You were a right-wing person before. You weren't a Democrat who woke up and realized how great Trump was and how corrupt the Democratic Party was. You didn't realize any of those things. You didn't make any movement. You didn't confront your own beliefs, which you have to do. You have to confront your own, prejudices and beliefs that you came into the truth community with. Because we're all deceived. We're all believing in a corrupt system. We all have our view of it, and we have to confront the distorted lens in which we see the world. That's what being a truther is, not exposing everybody else for being whatever they are. We have to figure out, the way that we're seeing things and how it's distorted reality, because we're seeing reality through a distorted lens, a delusionary lens of psychological programming and egotistical pursuits and conformity to a system, a group of people that we feel connected to, who we the group think mentality that we have with other people that are in our lives, whatever it is, right? Going against that is all difficult, and it's very hard on all of us to do that. And those of us who can do it, suffer. We suffer something. And when you don't get to come in with these dopey little comments when you've given up nothing, when you've not changed at all. You're the same dope that you were before you so-called woke up. With having said that, Trump, him saying that he has a higher level of support, because of course he does. This is a political, long-time political reality. That when you attack a person like they're doing Trump, you galvanize his support. His base becomes even more involved. They give more money. They work harder. They get more into it. Right now they're emotionally, it's like you see a character in a movie being screwed over. You see a character in a movie that you identify with, or somebody that even more so. This is, Trump's a god, or some people compare him to Jesus, some of his supporters, right? He's their savior. And he's being singled out. He's being, prejudiced against, right? Like it's like almost like a form of racism or something, where, he's being, and people identifying with Trump feel like they're being attacked. White people, white men, whatever. They feel like they're being attacked, right? People who, identify with the kind of person that follows Trump, these people all feel like, their way of life and, the system, this corrupt system, and Joe Biden, even though he's senile piece of crap who wears Depends diapers, he's also some criminal mastermind, and they're going after Trump. It galvanizes his support. And if Trump doesn't go to jail, there's going to be a backlash in the liberal community of people who are going to be like, oh, we can never get justice. Like there's that level of the liberal people, people in the BLM movement, some of these other groups, people in the LGBTQ community that feel like, oh, see, a white guy will never go to jail, or, Trump is, he's a Republican, and they'll feel screwed over when Trump doesn't go to jail. So it'll exacerbate that on the left, but not as much as it's triggering people on the right. And if Trump doesn't go to jail, then it's a win for Trump. It's yet another time they couldn't get him. They impeached him twice, and at some point it looks like a witch hunt to people, independents and whatever else, right? And so this indictment 100% helps Trump, just like all the other ones. If Trump fights this off and is able to run for president, because he can if he's a felon, if he stays out of prison and whatever else, then he's a shoo-in almost. Because Joe Biden, they can't hide Joe Biden unless they roll out another pandemic, but they certainly can't hide Hunter Biden, because that's all out and admitted to, right? And Joe Biden is a lot worse. So if Joe Biden has to go out on the campaign trail, and people like Stephen A. Smith and other people are calling him out, and you just can't ignore that he's senile and he's lost. He's too old to do the job. And he wasn't great in the first place. People didn't love him. There's no Joe Biden fans, not real ones, that are passionate about him. Like they're passionate about the Democrats, or they're passionate about Obama, and Joe Biden's connected to that, or they're passionate about Trump. But they're not passionate about him. They don't have a backup candidate. And so they're in a really lame position. Only if they don't want Trump, and I think they do. And the reason they want Trump is because, when you look at this stupid Marjorie Taylor Greene, you say at least she agrees a little bit with me, with you, with all of us. And she's better than AOC, but she's really a cancer on the truth community because she is a face. Trump is the face, is a face. Alex Jones is a face and a voice that people who aren't in the truth community look at and say, "Oh, those guys are all stupid. Those guys are all corrupt. All those guys are all, liars. Those guys are all, distorting reality. They're either really stupid or they're really criminal, and they're, challenging the official story, and in ways that could be easily debunked. Marjorie Taylor Greene was a former QB. She got involved with that, and Trump loves anybody who loves him, and she loves Trump. But together they demonstrate the problem because when you see like people in the public eye, it's been a huge problem in the truth community. Let's say a celebrity comes out as a truther, like Roseanne Barr did, or somebody like Isaac Cappy. They immediately are propelled to the top of the, Kennedy, who's an anti, what, any of these people who are, famous people, politicians, celebrity actors, athletes, whoever they are. If they come out, Kyrie Irving, for example, if they come out and they verbalize something that flirts with the truth community, they're immediately propelled to the top of the pyramid of the great truthers, right? Like whatever they become leaders just because of your celebrity bias. That you have a celebrity bias, or people in the truth community have a celebrity bias, and deep down you think these people are better than you because they're famous and they're rich or they're successful or whatever. And so you want people like that. You want people who verbalize your beliefs, who are, in the club. And it's stupid because the whole club's corrupt. And these people, some of them are sincere, some of them aren't, some of them are, they've all been a disaster. Well, not Kyrie Irving so much, but they've all been a disaster. Like Isaac Cappy and Roseanne Barr and all these other people have been a disaster to some extent because they haven't done a good job of being truthful people, which is what the truth community should be about. They've been self-serving. They're people who they need, the reason they got into, being an actor or a politician or a famous media person is they crave fame and glory, and, there's narcissism there, and it's about them and not the truth, right? It's about their personalities, their cult of personalities, and they want to have people who worship them and follow them, and it's been the whole problem with social media. When you have that desire to be famous, to be, whatever it is, it's going to distort. You're going to pander to the people. You're going to pander, and when you pander, you're distorting reality, and you're telling people what they want to hear, even though it's not the truth, or you don't even care because the truth for you is to be popular. The truth is for you to have support from the largest group of people you can get. The cult following that's created by doing something like that, right? And Trump wasn't a truther. Like, he was never a truther. He's not an honest person, right? He's a cheater, a liar. He's cheated on all his spouses. He's cheated in business. He's cheated his, partners. He's cheated poor people, vendors. He's exploited people. He's all about himself. He loves people who worship him, like someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. He loves people to tell him how great he is, but he's weak. He's not he's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's weak and kind of pathetic, especially now. You can see it now, the way he handled the post-election and the way he's handling everything now. And everything's all about him. He's the center of this movement for Trumpers. It isn't about you. He's not doing it for you. He's not protecting you. He's not, in it for you. He showed that when he turned on all his supporters. He conned into coming into the Capitol, and then when things went south, he completely denounced them. Right? He did he did a Peter, Saint Peter of, Jesus, he denied them, right? He said, no, it's their fault. He blamed them, even though he worked them up, and he, got involved with that rally, and he got completely worked, and they got completely worked, and they turned on each other, some of them, right? And, he embraced the Q movement, which is so dishonest and so bad and so wrong. He's embraced all these things, like Marjorie Taylor Greene embracing her, because he's pandering to the remedial people that have hurt and kind of destroyed the truth community, because they're people who are unwilling to confront the truth within themselves about their beliefs, about, what they think America is, about, everything from their religion to their, to their political leanings, to their, the people that go to their church and their friends and their family, and realizing that that they're all deceived and deceiving themselves. They've been deceived, and they are now in the process of deceiving themselves and keeping the deception alive, because they can't handle the truth, right? They can't confront the reality of our dying system and the people who are running it into the ground. And one truth that nobody really thinks about is that people who agree with you slightly, and they have some position of power or fame or whatever it is, are not your allies. They're your enemies. People who you disagree with, like Joe Biden isn't your enemy, right? The Democratic Party isn't your enemy. The liberals aren't your enemy. If you're a Trumper, a conservative, or whatever it is, because you know what they are. You're never going to believe in them. You're never going to agree with them. And you know what their agenda is, right? You know what they're doing. Like, it's obvious for you to see what they're doing, right? But you don't know what Trump's doing. You don't know what his motivation is. And you think it's what your motivation is. You think his vision and his goals align with your goals and your vision. And it doesn't. Because he's not in it for you. And he went after the truth community because of Steve Bannon. He went on the Alex Jones show, and he realized Trump didn't even know there was a group like this of truthers. Like, he, did the Obama birth certificate thing, and he flirted with that a little bit. But he wasn't a truther. He never was, because he's part of the problem. He's a part of the club. He's a billionaire, corrupt celebrity. I mean, he's a celebrity billionaire. He had his own TV show, which I liked. It was entertaining, but he was never a savior. He's a narcissist. He's all about himself, right? And so, he was never into finding the truth, never confronting the truth in himself. He hasn't grown as a person. He just embraces the people that love him, that are kind to him, that say good things about him. He embraces the people who are, who are cult-like followers of him. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a dope, right? She's not the best that the Republican Party has to offer, but he embraces her because she loves him. And that's how it always been. That's how it's always been. His going after Kayleigh McEnany, who's been, a worshiper of him, and like people are commenting that she was a great press secretary. I don't know that much about her, but I know that she loves Trump, and she wasn't even criticizing Trump. She made, what Trump thought was a mistake, and he attacked her, because that's what Trump does. That's what narcissists do. He's not about, ever confronting the problems that he's caused because of his attitude and behaviors and the division he's caused in the country and the things that he's done, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't change. He doesn't grow. He doesn't evolve. He's the same piece of crap that ran for president, that was on The Apprentice, that was a, New York billionaire. I mean, he's the same guy. He hasn't changed at all. It's gotten worse over the years. He's not evolving. He's not changing. He's not growing as a person. He's not becoming more truthful or honest. He's not embracing the truth. He's using your belief as a truther, as a person, who believes the system is corrupt. He's using that to pretend that he's one of you when he's not. And so he's the real enemy. He's your real enemy, and you don't even know it. He's the Judas goat, leading you down a deceptive path, the great pumpkin, promising you something that doesn't exist. Solution and an outcome that can never be. and all these people that are going along with it, they're hurting you because they're getting you to believe in something that isn't ever going to happen. If he doesn't go to jail, it's likely that he'll be president again. And you say, oh, that's better because he believes more than what I believe than Joe Biden does. But realize that the whole gender thing, all of it, all of that stuff that happened, wouldn't have been pushed through if it wasn't for Trump. Trump is their catalyst. Trump is their reason for being able to make a case for their distorted Hollywood morality, for all the liberal agenda. More of it got pushed through because of Trump. There's been a lot of looting under Biden. There's been a lot of corruption and things. But they couldn't have pushed through this agenda without Trump hatred. They couldn't have gotten the BLM riots going, the Antifa riots going. They couldn't have, pushed all that stuff, and they couldn't have done COVID the way they did it without Trump. Trump is the outrage that's on the left and is, in the middle, the independents or whatever. Trump is the energy behind the movement. He's, people, their anti-Trump attitude makes them buy into this distorted reality that they've forced on all of us. And Trump has been the catalyst for it all. They couldn't do it without Trump. And if he's president again, they're going to be pushing even more. He's already stated that he was powerless before as president. He couldn't stop them from doing it the first time. And they're just going to take another huge, hunk of power. And you're going to be like, well, he's president. He's going to stop it all. Why didn't he stop it the first time? So, for example, within the truth community, right-wing, especially right-wing people, you're upset about what's going on with Target and Bud Light and, all these other, whatever it is, right? And that all happened under Trump. Like in 2015 and 16, that's when they rolled out this agenda. They changed the definition of gender, how we think about gender. They changed the way we think about language. I mean, they've changed the way language is used. And, there's all these levels of it. And, they pushed a Hollywood morality. They've been around in the elite circles, with Trump. Trump was, he was part of that, right? He was a part of the elite. He was a billionaire club. He was a celebrity. He was around, he was around NBC. He was under contract with NBC for The Apprentice. He was working with models. He was a big model person. The model industry is where a lot of this stuff incubated. The model industry is like the fashion industry is, one of the worst for all this stuff, right? And he was a part of all that. And, his wife is questionable, in air quotes, right? Melania, right? She's questionable, like dudeish, right? And so he has been a part of this. He had no problem with any of it. He didn't push back against it at all, verbally, in terms of his policies. And they pushed all this stuff through because of Trump, because Trump was viewed as a right-wing, racist, homophobic, anti-feminist, misogynist, and that he was, and the people that support him were stopping this movement, which was about human rights, and it was about, people who had been oppressed and people who had been disenfranchised and all this stuff, right? And they pushed this liberal agenda through using Trump's embracing these white supremacist groups because they, kissed his ass and they told him how great he was, not denying them. And Trump, certain things that he said here or there, even though Joe Biden is as much of a racist and, old guy as Trump is, old white guy as Trump is, part of the power club, they pushed this whole thing through, right? Because of Trump. And Trump offered no resistance, didn't do anything to stop it, isn't doing anything to stop it now or turn it around. Because the number one thing that Trump has given them is division. And I said this back when Hillary Clinton was running against Trump. They were both such divisive, hated figures. They were the most hated political figures ever. And they were, whoever got elected was going to divide. And the reason Trump was picked, the reason Trump was better than Clinton is Clinton didn't have any supporters, real supporters. People don't love Hillary Clinton. They're not passionate about Hillary Clinton. They hate her. She's got haters. Trump has haters, but he also has lovers. And so that created a division between the Trumpers and the Trump haters. And that's what they wanted, and they still want. And they're pushing for this. That's why they've kept Trump alive in the news media cycles. He wasn't president for the last, 3 years, and he's got more coverage than Joe Biden, right? He gets more news coverage than Joe Biden. People are all about Trump in every possible way. In MSNBC and CNN and political circles and Hollywood and all the rest of it. It's like Trump is still president. I mean, Joe Biden is there, but it's Trump who is the star of the show. And they've made that to be the case for, this reason. They want division. They want the left and the right to be at war with each other. They want racial divisions. They want division between the so-called cisgender and the LGBTQ and all these other things, right? They want division. They want you to be on one side and and have enemies on the other side and be passionate about how much you hate the other side. That's what they want. And that's what they're pushing for. I have all these Trump screenshots from 2016, and some of them are about how much Hillary and Trump are both hated. Some of it's Trump Freemasonic, his symbols, his hand symbols, things. I'll put all those things here. I haven't done that for a while, but I'll take all those screenshots, all the stuff he had with women that was weird, his weird relationship with his daughter, like very, incestuous in the pictures. You'll see it all, like all these things. Trump is, not a good person. He's like, he's not a truther. He's a pretender. He's a poser, and he's gotten all these people to follow him, and it's been devastating for all of us because he's done more damage than Joe Biden ever could because of his having lovers and haters. Trump brings energy that Joe Biden doesn't have. Trump, creates a movement that is bad, movement on the right that's bad, and movement on the left. He creates, he's someone who's bringing consciousness down. He embraces stupidity. He embraces, the lowest level of followers. He likes stupid people that don't question him or can't see his faults or can't see through some of his BS, right? He wants stupid people. He's pandering to stupid people, which is, the most anti-truther thing that you can do. You have to evolve, right? You need to be ahead of people. You should inspire people to go farther into the truth, to go farther into the, into any of it, right? Go farther into their spiritual aspect and farther into their relationship with God. But he just, keeps people comfortable in their stupidity. He tells stupid people they're great. And stupid people don't need that, right? And, the lower level consciousness people, the dummies, the binary, the people who are bought into the binary system, people who are the lowest level of consciousness. And if you can't see that, then you're not a truther. You're not awake. You're just, outraged about something that you really don't understand or don't have the ability to perceive. All right, so let's move on with the other stuff here. Okay, so I just want to add this on. Trump has said things about Ivanka, various things. He said some things on Howard Stern. There's a number of places that he has said incestuous things about his daughter, including here that he would want to date her. And so this is what he said here.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop it. You know what? You are sick.
Yeah. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
Well,
you're known for saying outrageous things, Mr. Trump.
Who are you, Woody Allen?
He's just a creep, right? You just undeniable creep. And this isn't the only thing he said where he implied that he was sexually attracted to his daughter. And then there were weird pictures of them when he grew up. And look at how Joy made a funny and and crapped all over Woody Allen and other, all of it. And the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing with Woody Allen and Trump. I mean, it's just there. It's there for anybody who wants to see it, all you Trumpers. Okay, so I had a bunch more stuff to get to, but the narrative took a long time. And I want to do an update on my farm, some mulberry stuff, maybe today, hopefully. But I watched this Mark Zuckerberg first match, jiu-jitsu match. He's doing jiu-jitsu, which, he's an expert at. That was kind of hilarious. But this is what I want to get to here. The CNN headline, CNN title of this video, Bolton makes prediction on Trump political career after indictment.
Was shocked by the degree of sensitivity of these documents and how.
This is a Trump guy. This is a Trump-appointed guy, a guy who completely turned on him and bailed on Trump, right? Which is, this isn't Bolton, who we're going to get into in a moment here.
Many there were, frankly. And so the government's agenda was to get those, protect those documents and get them out. And I think it was perfectly appropriate to do that. It was the right thing to do. And I think the counts under the Espionage Act that he willfully retained those documents are solid counts.
So that's that guy turning on him. And here's Bolton. Porn stash warmonger John Bolton, one of the worst guys, right?
The United Nations. And Ambassador Bolton, look, you are neither secretive nor subtle about your desire to see the former president out of the race for president or to be a candidate for president anymore. I don't really want to ask about the politics, because I want to ask you about what these documents actually mean. There's a lot of classification markings. There's a lot of words and descriptions that people might not understand. Tell people from a national security perspective what's in the documents laid out in this indictment.
Well, of course, neither I nor anybody else not involved in the case knows what's in the documents yet. But I do know what kinds of documents were put in front of the president during my time, I'm sure during the
So you have nothing to add in this thing, right?
entire 4 years of his term. And they did go to absolute, the most important secrets that the United States has, directly affecting national security, directly affecting the lives and safety of our service members and our civilian population. If he has anything like what the indictment alleges, and of course the government will have to prove it, then he has committed very serious crimes. This is a devastating indictment. I speak here as an alumnus of the Justice Department myself.
John Bolton was hired by Trump and had a brief stint, and with everything Trump, which I'm going to cover in my pre-introduction, which I haven't done yet, well, you've already listened to. But everything with Trump ends with, especially with these people with strong personalities, ends with a feud. Trump has gone through so many brutally bad breakups, which I'll talk about. And John Bolton is one of the worst, because Trump likes to talk about rhino Republicans. But there's no more rhino Republican than John Bolton. John Bolton was a neocon on steroids. He was the number one neocon. He was pushing for war with Iran, pushing for nuclear war, pushing for war everywhere, military-industrial complex guy, just a real piece of boop. And Trump embraced him. He said, wonderful things about him, praised him, hired him. And then inevitably they had a breakup, and now Bolton is one of these Trump haters. Like so many people who were once in Trump's good graces end up becoming haters, which I'll talk about in the pre-introduction. And, he's just one of them, right? And Trump says he doesn't like rhino Republicans and the Republican establishment, but he's embraced it in various times. And he has had guys who are advocates for him, whether it be Steve O'Bannon or whether it be his fixer, Michael Cohen, people who, possibly went to jail for Trump or, were indicted. And things went badly for them. And it shows you what kind of person Trump is, that people that, get around him, Rudy Giuliani, all these other people, his lawyers that defended him, those lawyers for him in the post-election that are now under scrutiny, Fox News, who backs some of Trump's claims, got sued by Dominion. Like Trump just is a cancer on everything around him. He just poisons people and destroys them. And, they're friends and then they're enemies and then they get into these feuds and then there are all these things. He just lays waste to everything. He's got bad energy. He's just a horrible person. You see it. He's not a truther. He's hurt the truth community. He's hurt all of us, right? So now I'm going to do the pre-introduction, which, I'm saying some of these things over here because I know I'm going to repeat these when I do the pre-introduction because it's important for people to hear over and over again. The delusional Trump supporters, right? Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.